Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. Chapter 31. My home, then, when I at last find a home, is a cottage, a little room with whitewashed walls and a sanded floor, containing 4 painted chairs and a table, a clock, a cupboard, with 2 or 3 plates and dishes, and a set of tea-things in delf. Above, a chamber of the same dimensions as the kitchen, with a deal bedstead and chest of drawers, small, yet too large to be filled with my scanty wardrobe, though the kindness of my gentle and generous friends has increased that by a modest stock of such things as are necessary. God directed me to a correct choice. I thank his providence for the guidance. Having brought my eventide musings to this point, I rose, went to my door, and looked at the sunset of the harvest day, and at the quiet fields before my cottage, which, with the school, was distant 1/2 mile from the village. A dog, old Carlo, Mr. Rivers' pointer, as I saw in a moment, was pushing the gate with his nose, and St. John himself leant upon it with folded arms, his brow knit, his gaze, grave almost to displeasure, fixed on me. I asked him to come in. "No, I cannot stay. I have only brought you a little parcel my sisters left for you. I think it contains a colour-box, pencils, and paper." I approached to take it. A welcome gift it was. He examined my face, I thought, with austerity as I came near. The traces of tears were doubtless very visible upon it. "Have you found your first day's work harder than you expected?" he asked. "Oh, no. On the contrary, I think in time I shall get on with my scholars very well." Both he and I had our backs towards the path leading up the field to the wicket. We had heard no step on that grass-grown track. The water running in the vale was the one lulling sound of the hour and scene. We might well then start, when a gay voice, sweet as a silver bell, exclaimed, "Good evening, Mr. Rivers." "And good evening, old Carlo. Your dog is quicker to recognise his friends than you are, sir. He pricked his ears and wagged his tail when I was at the bottom of the field, and you have your back towards me now." A vision, as it seemed to me, had risen at his side. There appeared, within 3 feet of him, a form clad in pure white, a youthful, graceful form, full yet fine in contour, and when, after bending to caress Carlo, it lifted up its head and threw back a long veil, there bloomed under his glance a face of perfect beauty. "Oh, I only came home from S." She mentioned the name of a large town some 20 miles distant. "This afternoon. Papa told me you had opened your school, and that the new mistress was come, and so I put on my bonnet after tea and ran up the valley to see her. This is she?" pointing to me. "It is," said St. John. "Do you think you shall like Morton?" she asked of me, with a direct and naive simplicity of tone and manner, pleasing, if childlike. "I hope I shall. I have many inducements to do so." "Papa says you never come to see us now," continued Miss Oliver, looking up. "You are quite a stranger at Vale Hall. He is alone this evening, and not very well. Will you return with me and visit him?" "It is not a seasonable hour to intrude on Mr. Oliver," answered St. John. "Not a seasonable hour? But I declare it is. It is just the hour when papa most wants company, when the works are closed, and he has no business to occupy him. Not to-night, Miss Rosamond, not to-night." Mr. St. John spoke almost like an automaton. Himself only knew the effort it cost him thus to refuse. "Well, if you are so obstinate, I will leave you, for I dare not stay any longer. The dew begins to fall. Good evening." This spectacle of another's suffering and sacrifice rapt my thoughts from exclusive meditation on my own. Diana Rivers had designated her brother inexorable as death. She had not exaggerated. Chapter 32. I continued the labours of the village school as actively and faithfully as I could. It was truly hard work at first. Some time elapsed before, with all my efforts, I could comprehend my scholars and their nature. Wholly untaught, with faculties quite torpid, they seemed to me hopelessly dull, and at first sight all dull alike; but I soon found I was mistaken. There was a difference amongst them as amongst the educated, and when I got to know them, and they me, this difference rapidly developed itself. I felt I became a favourite in the neighbourhood. Whenever I went out, I heard on all sides cordial salutations, and was welcomed with friendly smiles. Rosamond Oliver kept her word in coming to visit me. Her call at the school was generally made in the course of her morning ride. She would canter up to the door on her pony, followed by a mounted livery servant. She had taken an amiable caprice to me. She said I was like Mr. Rivers, only certainly, she allowed, not 1/10 so handsome, though I was a nice neat little soul enough, but he was an angel. I was, however, good, clever, composed, and firm, like him. I was a lusus naturae, she affirmed, as a village schoolmistress. She was sure my previous history, if known, would make a delightful romance. It was the 5th of November, and a holiday. My little servant, after helping me to clean my house, was gone, well satisfied with the fee of a penny for her aid. My door unclosed, admitting St. John Rivers. "I come to see how you are spending the holiday," he said. "Not, I hope, in thought. No, that is well. While you draw, you will not feel lonely. You see, I mistrust you still, though you have borne up wonderfully so far. I have brought you a book for evening solace." And he laid on the table a new publication. While I was eagerly glancing at the bright pages of Marmion, for Marmion it was, St. John stooped to examine my drawing. His tall figure sprang erect again with a start. He said nothing. "Is this portrait like?" I asked bluntly. "Like? Like whom? I did not observe it closely." "You did, Mr. Rivers." Mastering some hesitation, he answered, "Miss Oliver, I presume?" "Of course. And now, sir, to reward you for the accurate guess, I will promise to paint you a careful and faithful duplicate of this very picture, provided you admit that the gift would be acceptable to you. I don't wish to throw away my time and trouble on an offering you would deem worthless." "That I should like to have it is certain. Whether it would be judicious or wise is another question." "As far as I can see, it would be wiser and more judicious if you were to take to yourself the original at once." By this time he had sat down. He had laid the picture on the table before him, and with his brow supported on both hands, hung fondly over it. "She likes you, I am sure," said I, as I stood behind his chair, "and her father respects you. Moreover, she is a sweet girl, rather thoughtless, but she would have sufficient thought for both yourself and her. You ought to marry her." "Does she like me?" he asked. "Certainly. Better than she likes any one else. She talks of you continually. There is no subject she enjoys so much or touches upon so often." "It is very pleasant to hear this," he said, "very. Go on, for another quarter of an hour." And he actually took out his watch, and laid it upon the table to measure the time. "But where is the use of going on," I asked, "when you are probably preparing some iron blow of contradiction, or forging a fresh chain to fetter your heart? Don't imagine such hard things. Fancy me yielding and melting as I am doing. It is strange," pursued he, "that while I love Rosamond Oliver so wildly, with all the intensity indeed of a first passion, the object of which is exquisitely beautiful, graceful, fascinating, I experience at the same time a calm, unwarped consciousness that she would not make me a good wife, that she is not the partner suited to me, that I should discover this within a year after marriage, and that to 12 months' rapture would succeed a lifetime of regret." After a considerable pause, I said, "And Miss Oliver, are her disappointment and sorrow of no interest to you?" "Miss Oliver is ever surrounded by suitors and flatterers. In less than a month my image will be effaced from her heart. She will forget me, and will marry probably some one who will make her far happier than I should do." He drew over the picture the sheet of thin paper on which I was accustomed to rest my hand in painting, to prevent the cardboard from being sullied. What he suddenly saw on this blank paper, it was impossible for me to tell, but something had caught his eye. He took it up with a snatch. He looked at the edge, then shot a glance at me, inexpressibly peculiar, and replacing the paper, I saw him dexterously tear a narrow slip from the margin. It disappeared in his glove, and with one hasty nod, and Good afternoon. He vanished. Chapter 33. When Mr. St. John went, it was beginning to snow. The whirling storm continued all night. The next day a keen wind brought fresh and blinding falls. I heard a noise. The wind, I thought, shook the door. No, it was St. John Rivers, who, lifting the latch, came in out of the frozen hurricane, the howling darkness, and stood before me, the cloak that covered his tall figure all white as a glacier. I was almost in consternation, so little had I expected any guest from the blocked-up vale that night. "Any ill news?" I demanded. "Has anything happened?" "No. How very easily alarmed you are." "But why are you come?" I could not forbear saying. "Rather an inhospitable question to put to a visitor, but since you ask it, I answer simply to have a little talk with you. I got tired of my mute books and empty rooms. Besides, since yesterday I have experienced the excitement of a person to whom a tale has been half told, and who is impatient to hear the sequel." He sat down. He soon stirred. My eye was instantly drawn to his movements. He only took out a morocco pocket-book, thence produced a letter, which he read in silence, folded it, put it back, relapsed into meditation. The clock struck 8 strokes. It aroused him. He uncrossed his legs, sat erect, and turned to me. "Leave your book a moment, and come a little nearer the fire," he said. Wondering, and of my wonder finding no end, I complied. "Half an hour ago," he pursued, "I spoke of my impatience to hear the sequel of a tale. On reflection, I find the matter will be better managed by my assuming the narrator's part, and converting you into a listener. 20 years ago, a poor curate, never mind his name at the moment, fell in love with a rich man's daughter. She fell in love with him, and married him, against the advice of all her friends, who consequently disowned her immediately after the wedding. Before 2 years passed, the rash pair were both dead. They left a daughter, which, at its very birth, Charity received in her lap. Charity carried the friendless thing into the house of its rich maternal relations. It was reared by an aunt-in-law, called, I come to names now, Mrs. Reed of Gateshead. Mrs. Reed kept the orphan 10 years, but at the end of that time she transferred it to a place you know, being no other than Lowood School, where you so long resided yourself. She left it to be a governess. There again your fates were analogous. She undertook the education of the ward of a certain Mr. Rochester." "Mr. Rivers," I interrupted. "I can guess your feelings," he said, "but restrain them for a while. I have nearly finished. Hear me to the end. Of Mr. Rochester's character I know nothing, but the one fact that he professed to offer honourable marriage to this young girl, and that at the very altar she discovered he had a wife yet alive, though a lunatic. What his subsequent conduct and proposals were is a matter of pure conjecture, but when an event transpired which rendered inquiry after the governess necessary, it was discovered she was gone. No one could tell when, where, or how. She had left Thornfield Hall in the night. Every research after her course had been vain. The country had been scoured far and wide. No vestige of information could be gathered respecting her. Yet that she should be found has become a matter of serious urgency. Advertisements have been put in all the papers. I myself have received a letter from one Mr. Briggs, solicitor, communicating the details I have just imparted. Is it not an odd tale?" "Just tell me this," said I, "and since you know so much, you can surely tell it me. What of Mr. Rochester? How and where is he? What is he doing? Is he well?" "I am ignorant of all concerning Mr. Rochester. The letter never mentions him, but to narrate the fraudulent and illegal attempt I have adverted to. You should rather ask the name of the governess, the nature of the event which requires her appearance." "Did no one go to Thornfield Hall, then? Did no one see Mr. Rochester?" "I suppose not." "But they wrote to him?" "Of course." "And what did he say? Who has his letters?" "Mr. Briggs intimates that the answer to his application was not from Mr. Rochester, but from a lady. It is signed Alice Fairfax." "He must have been a bad man," observed Mr. Rivers. "You don't know him. Don't pronounce an opinion upon him." "Briggs wrote to me of a Jane Eyre," he said. "The advertisements demanded a Jane Eyre. I knew a Jane Elliot. I confess I had my suspicions, but it was only yesterday afternoon they were at once resolved into certainty.
You own the name and renounce the alias?"
"Yes, yes, but where is Mr. Briggs? He perhaps knows more of Mr. Rochester than you do."
"Briggs is in London. I should doubt his knowing anything at all about Mr. Rochester. It is not in Mr. Rochester he is interested. Meantime you forget essential points in pursuing trifles. You do not inquire why Mr. Briggs sought after you, what he wanted with you."
"Well, what did he want?"
"Merely to tell you that your uncle, Mr. Eyre of Madeira, is dead, that he has left you all his property, and that you are now rich. Merely that. Nothing more."
"I? Rich?"
"Yes, you, rich, quite an heiress."
Silence succeeded.
"You must prove your identity, of course," resumed St. John presently, "a step which will offer no difficulties. You can then enter on immediate possession. Your fortune is vested in the English funds. Briggs has the will and the necessary documents."
Here was a new card turned up.
"You unbend your forehead at last," said Mr. Rivers. "I thought Medusa had looked at you, and that you were turning into stone. Perhaps now you will ask how much you are worth."
"How much am I worth?"
"Oh, a trifle. Nothing, of course, to speak of. £20,000, I think they say. But what is that?"
£20,000! Here was a new stunner. I had been calculating on 4,000 or 5,000. This news actually took my breath for a moment. Mr. St. John, whom I had never heard laugh before, laughed now.
"Well," said he, "if you had committed a murder, and I had told you your crime was discovered, you could scarcely look more aghast."
"It is a large sum. Don't you think there is a mistake?"
"No mistake at all."
"Perhaps you have read the figures wrong. It may be 2,000.
"It is written in letters, not figures. 20,000.
Mr. Rivers rose now and put his cloak on. He was lifting the latch. A sudden thought occurred to me. "Stop 1 minute," I cried.
"Well?"
"It puzzles me to know why Mr. Briggs wrote to you about me, or how he knew you, or could fancy that you, living in such an out-of-the-way place, had the power to aid in my discovery."
"Oh, I'm a clergyman," he said, "and the clergy are often appealed to about odd matters."
Again the latch rattled. "No, that does not satisfy me," I exclaimed; and indeed there was something in the hasty and unexplanatory reply which, instead of allaying, piqued my curiosity more than ever. "It is a very strange piece of business," I added. "I must know more about it."
"Another time."
"No, tonight, tonight!" And as he turned from the door, I placed myself between it and him. He looked rather embarrassed. "You certainly shall not go till you have told me all," I said.
"I would rather not just now."
"You shall, you must."
"I would rather Diana or Mary informed you."
Of course these objections wrought my eagerness to a climax. Gratified it must be, and that without delay, and I told him so.
"My mother's name was Eyre. She had 2 brothers. One a clergyman who married Miss Jane Reed of Gateshead, the other John Eyre, Esquire, merchant late of Funchal, Madeira. Mr. Briggs, being Mr. Eyre's solicitor, wrote to us last August to inform us of our uncle's death, and to say that he had left his property to his brother, the clergyman's orphan daughter, overlooking us, in consequence of a quarrel never forgiven between him and my father. He wrote again a few weeks since, to intimate that the heiress was lost, and asking if we knew anything of her. A name, casually written on a slip of paper, has enabled me to find her out. You know the rest."
Again he was going, but I set my back against the door. "Do let me speak," I said. "Let me have 1 moment to draw breath and reflect." I paused. He stood before me, hat in hand, looking composed enough. I resumed. "Your mother was my father's sister?"
"Yes."
"My aunt, consequently?" He bowed. "My Uncle John was your Uncle John? You, Diana, and Mary are his sister's children, as I am his brother's child?"
"Undeniably."
"You 3, then, are my cousins. Half our blood on each side flows from the same source."
"We are cousins, yes."
"Oh, I am glad, I am glad!" I exclaimed.
St. John smiled. "Did I not say you neglected essential points to pursue trifles?" he asked. "You were serious when I told you you had got a fortune, and now, for a matter of no moment, you are excited."
"What can you mean? It may be of no moment to you. You have sisters and don't care for a cousin. But I had nobody.
And now 3 relations, or 2 if you don't choose to be counted, are born into my world full grown. I say again, I am glad. Write to Diana and Mary to-morrow, I said, and tell them to come home directly. Diana said they would both consider themselves rich with £1,000, so with 5,000 they will do very well. Tell me where I can get you a glass of water, said St. John. You really must make an effort to tranquillize your feelings. This is acting on first impulses. You must take days to consider such a matter, ere your word can be regarded as valid. And you, I interrupted, cannot at all imagine the craving I have for fraternal and sisterly love. I never had a home. I never had brothers and sisters. I must and will have them now. You are not reluctant to admit me and own me, are you? Jane, I will be your brother. My sisters will be your sisters, without stipulating for this sacrifice of your just rights. I feel I can easily and naturally make room in my heart for you, as my 3rd and youngest sister. Thank you. That contents me for tonight. Now you had better go, for if you stay longer you will perhaps irritate me afresh by some mistrustful scruple. And the school, Miss Eyre? It must now be shut up, I suppose? No, I will retain my post of mistress till you get a substitute. He smiled approbation. We shook hands, and he took leave.